When you think of Audi RSs, the first thing that always comes to mind is the jacked up family wagon in the form of the RS6. Audis are absolute rocket ships these days and more inclined to the speed-oriented market that it exists in.
But as fast as they are, Audis, to be honest, can be a little bit soulless to drive. However, back in 2006 there was this, the V8 normally aspirated 6-speed manual only option Audi RS4 B7. Now just take a look at the design. It's understated yet muscular, all in the right places. It may look like a standard Audi A4, but the telltale signs are these flat wheel arches, the matte finished aluminium side mirrors, and of course signature to Audi RSs of that generation, the oval exhaust tips. And one particular area that I really like about the B7 generation is this little ducting right here, right at the front bumper, because it reminds you a little bit of a DTM racer. Now if you see this on the roads, well, you know, if you're a car guy, you know particularly that this is something not to be messed with. So as time progresses, you would expect that cars are going to get better and much faster and quicker in terms of performance, but this Audi RS here is the perfect case example of a car that was built in the way the manufacturer intended it to be, a performance-oriented driver's car. So the option was very simple: 6-speed manual gearbox, normally aspirated engine. You couldn't get anything else. Of course, it also comes with these lovely Recaro bucket seats, which apparently in the US didn't come with these seats, but everywhere else in the world did get it. So Audi made very limited numbers of the B7 RS4. Only about 10,000 units were ever made, which makes this thing a little bit special. And lucky for us as well, thanks to some grey imports, there are probably a handful around Malaysia, but that's the thing, you can't find these things. These are pretty rare cars to come about. So underneath the bonnet comes a 4.2 litre V8 normally aspirated engine, 414 horsepower, 4.8 0 to 60 time, which is pretty brisk by today's standards even. And that's the thing about performance cars of back then, they were made differently, I think. It's funny thinking that this thing is over 15 years old now. There's nothing about this car that feels old, because despite it having done 186,000 kilometers, there isn't much wear. The car still feels solid. It drives very smooth. The gear changes are pretty sweet and rather clunky and solid, like a true driver's car, which makes me think that maybe at the time cars were built a little bit more different as compared to now, because despite this being a top of the line RS model, it felt a little bit simpler as compared to modern cars that are more jam-packed with technology, which makes this thing kind of special. And funnily, of course, back then this was the wildcard option. Most of the people would end up with a BMW M3. The RS4 was the wildcard choice, so you don't see that many of this car on the road. And it's kind of nice getting the opportunity now, after 15 years, to be able to drive this little piece of Audi history, because it clearly seems that Audi never made it this way again.
Where it was once the boring choice over an E92 M3, I think the RS4 B7 has aged properly well to becoming a proper modern classic today. It has all the right sounds and all the right elements to make it a true driver's car, and whilst it may not be as shouty as its rivals, the RS4 delivers a touch of old school performance with quattro all-wheel drive grip that can truly be enjoyed in the real world.